Welcome to a prevention training course introducing Understanding Child Abuse, Module 101 by Shira Dennis. The learning objectives for Module 101 are separated into three parts. Part 1, learners will be able to identify child maltreatment. Part 2, learners will be able to discuss the effects of maltreatment. In Part 3, learners will be able to demonstrate their responsibilities as caregivers. In this training, it is our concern to educate you about child safety. So let's begin. Part 1, we will define child abuse. Abuse can be physical, verbal, and mental. Child abuse is when a parent or caregiver, whether through action or fail to act, causes injury, death, emotional harm, or risk of serious harm to a child. There are many forms of child maltreatment, including neglect, physical abuse, sexual abuse, exploitation, and emotional abuse. Part 2, we will understand the effects of child abuse. There is a zero tolerance policy, and keeping a safe environment in child care is the goal. Child care is about providing a safe environment for children. Children come first.
More than 3 million referrals of child maltreatment are received by state and local agencies each year. That's nearly 6 referrals every minute. My name is Jenny Beck, presenting about maltreatment and brain development, what teachers need to know and how they can help. The purpose of the presentation is to increase teachers' knowledge on the effects of abuse and neglect on brain development and give strategies for working with students who have experienced maltreatment. Brain development or learning is actually the process of creating, strengthening, and discarding connections among the neurons called synapses. As a child develops, the synapses become more complex, like a tree with more branches and limbs growing. The synapses that are used a lot become a permanent part of the brain. The synapses that are not used frequently are eliminated. This is where experience plays an important role in wiring a young child's brain. Researchers use the term plasticity to describe the brain's ability to change in response to repeated stimulation. Our brains prepare us to expect certain experiences by forming the pathways needed to respond to those experiences. If the appropriate exposure does not happen, the pathways developed in anticipation may be discarded. This is sometimes referred to as the concept of use it or lose it. The development that occurs during the first years of life is critically important for children's well-being. During this period, the brain has maximum plasticity and each experience shapes its growth. Exposure to chronic adversity in early life leads to toxic levels of stress and permanent changes to brain architecture. We know that children who experience the stress of abuse will focus their brain's resources on survival and responding to threats in their environment.
In Part 3, we will define your responsibilities. Prevention, awareness, and documentation is very important.
Stress of abuse will focus their brain's resources on survival and responding to threats in their environment. This chronic stimulation of the brain's fear response means that the regions of the brain involved in this response are frequently activated. Other regions of the brain, such as those involved in complex thought and abstract cognition, are less frequently activated, and the child becomes less competent at processing this type of information. Neglect can result in cognitive and motor delays, anxiety, depression, social problems, and attention problems. If stimulation is lacking during children's early years, the weak neuronal pathways that had been developed in expectation of these experiences may wither and die, and the children may not achieve the usual developmental milestones. Neglected children often do not show the rapid growth that normally occurs in language development at 18 to 24 months. These images illustrate the negative impact of neglect on the developing brain. In the CT scan on the left, it is an image from a healthy 3-year-old with an average head size. The The image on the right is from a 3-year-old suffering from severe sensory deprivation neglect. This child's brain is significantly smaller than average and has abnormal development of the cortex. The growth in each region of the brain largely depends on receiving stimulation, which spurs activity in that region. The stimulation provides the foundation for learning. Chronic stress or repeated traumas can result in a number of biological reactions, including a persistent fear state. Hyperarousal is another effect. Maltreated children tend to overreact to triggers that other children find non-threatening. Their brains have developed so that they are constantly alert and are unable to achieve the relative calm necessary for learning. Children who have experienced insecure or anxious attachments may have more difficulties regulating their emotions and showing empathy for others. Teachers who educate themselves about abuse will find many opportunities to support children who have neither the experience nor the maturity to unravel the turmoil they face. Although the academic environment is structured for learning, the ability to learn is dependent on a child's arriving at school with basic needs met. Getting physiological needs met, as well as those for safety, belonging, trust, and love, maximizes the child's development as a learner. Teachers can honor the strength and courage of these children by having high expectations for them. Emotionality may interfere with thinking.
In the event that you have recognized and reported a child abuse case, the number to reach is the Georgia Division of Family and Children Services at 1-855-GA-CHILD. That is 1-855-422-4453. In summary, you have learned how to define child abuse, how to understand the effects of child abuse, and how to demonstrate your responsibilities as a caregiver.